Hi everyone, it's Tuesday today. We are continuing our study on the covenants of God with man in the Bible. And we talked yesterday about Noah's covenant, God's covenant with Noah. And it was very interesting to realize that God has a sign in the clouds, the rainbow, every time to remember when He gathers the cloud together. I will not bring a flood anymore. I will stop myself. I will not do that. I will not punish everyone in the nature and all the animals. I will not kill everyone because of the wickedness of the man's way of living, and their thoughts are full of evil every day. Although they are full of so much hatred, wickedness. Um, I will not sacrifice everything. God is preparing another way. He's preparing a final judgment when everybody will be judged. And if you found Jesus, you will have a strong case then. Now He's moving alone. God is unveiling Himself, revealing Himself to people. So He has a special relationship with Abraham. Abraham is a man that lives in a city that people are worshiping many gods, but his family is in a strong relation with God. But most important thing, Abraham has a strong relation with God because God is speaking to him, and He's calling him out. He said, come out from your family, from the city that you live in. I want to, build from your nation. I will give you a land, and you will be a people, a nation on this earth. And Abraham says, God, I believe you, and he comes out, but he takes his nephew Lot because he doesn't have any sons, and he and his wife Sarah are old, and there are no sons there. So Lot is the nearest um, next person to descended from him. So he's taking Lot too. But God didn't say this to him, but God does allow it. If you want to do it like this, it'll be alright. So there's an interesting from Genesis chapter 12. There's an interesting story about how Abraham ends up in a way meeting Lot and say, we become too wealthy together, so we need to choose a side. If you go left, I'll go right. So they did this, and Abraham is now in a moment that he doesn't have any descendants. Lot is not there. He's looking at his land, and he's not looking very good. So God comes up and talks with him and say, Abraham, I really meant what I said. So I want to make this clear to you. So I want to make a covenant to you. As you do in your time, I want to make a covenant with you. So this is how we end up in chapter 15, when the Lord asked Abraham, verse 9. Let's read verse 8 too, 15 verse 8. But Abraham said, "O sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it?" So God is speaking to him. You'll have the land, you'll have a nation, everything. And Abraham is like, God, I just want to know how you will do it. I need a sign, I need something. So the best thing that God can give is a covenant. Abraham bought all. So verse 9, so the Lord said to him, bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. What I want you to do, then the passage go along. Abraham needs to cut them in half and put them in front of each other with an aisle to walk through. Arrange the half opposite each other, but the birds will remain full. So Abraham is doing all this work, and all of a sudden the Bible says that in verse 12, as the sun was setting, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and thick and dreadful darkness came over him. And verse 13 is the moment that says, then the Lord said to him, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated for 100 years. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possession. You have, however, will go to your fathers in peace and be buried in a good at a good old age. But in the fourth generation, God says, I will take them out and I will bring them in this land. And verse 17 says, when the sun has set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day, verse 18, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham and said, to your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, so, and all the nations. So this is the moment that God make the covenant with Abraham. Which is interesting to me, and I want to point out, is the fact that first, the covenant that God makes with Abraham brings the nation of Israel, and from the nation of Israel God brings out Messiah. He gives this message to Abraham in chapter 12, where he says, someone from you will be a blessing for everybody, for all the nations. You'll be a blessing for all the nations, and that is Jesus. Jesus is the descendants of Abraham that is a blessing for all the nation. Every nation, everyone who believes in his name has a right to be in people, has a right to become a child of God. But the second thing I want to say about this covenant is the fact that it's strange, because this ritual of making a covenant, it was something custom on that times. But again, the thing is, how it's supposed to work is you put the carcasses opposite to each other, and you make an aisle between them, so one man will stay at one end and the other at the other end. They will walk through them, they will meet at a meeting in the center, and they will have the covenant. And the covenant implies the fact that if I don't keep my word, I should end up like these animals. This is how a covenant will make, or as a contract, something that people would do in those times. They will not have lawyers and all these contracts today. So this is a way of keeping your word, making a covenant, and everybody will know that you're real. So God is saying, Abraham, as you are custom or used to, let's do a covenant to just add something to be assured that I will keep my word. The thing is, at the time that they needed both to walk through, Abraham is slipping. He's way past, and God has to do this alone. And this is not something that just happened. I think the message is so important to us, that God said to Abraham, I know it will be hard for you to keep this covenant. I know you will fail. And the next chapters are talking about the Ishmael, the son that Sarai and Abraham thought, hey, let's help God, maybe he needs some help. So he failed that covenant, and after this story, God is reassuring Abraham, is stating again the covenant. I knew that it's hard for you to keep it, so but I'm still keeping that covenant, Abraham. I will not break it, because what I made and I gave my word, I will do it. I will do it at the end. Why does God do this? And then he delivers Isaac to Abraham, and I think that the beautiful message is, although they needed both to meet up in the middle, God knew Abraham and his way, so God walked all the way, and he assured everyone, especially Abraham, that I know you will fail, so I will keep the covenant in your place too. I'll keep my word, and I will help you to keep your word too. And God, just with that flame crossover, the fire missed everything. The fire burned everything, and in that moment God sealed the covenant and said, Abraham, I will keep my word, no matter the fact that you didn't cross and you might fail. I will still keep my word. This is a wonderful message. You know, Jesus died on that cross, paying for everything that we did, and everything that is necessary until the end. Jesus paid it all because God knew who we are. You know, and this is a wonderful message. This is how God kept did the covenant with Abraham, and we will see on the days that comes that we are still on that covenant with Abraham in a way, although we have a new covenant in Jesus. But Jesus is the one who's promised through Abraham, through the descendants of Abraham, the nation of Israel, that he will be a blessing of everyone, and that is Jesus Christ. And you know what? It's a very encouraging message that God will keep his covenant. I think that's why Paul is written in Philippians, that the fact that the one who started the work in your heart, he will finish it. That doesn't mean that you don't have to focus and, you know, keep the race and fight the good fight. But you know what? God is the one who promised something to you, that he will finish what he started in your life. And you know what? He will finish. He will help you to finish the race. So never, don't give up. No matter what happens, no matter how many times you fail, just get up again and finish the race, because God is waiting you at the end with your prize, with your crown, with everything that he promised, because he is keeping his end of the bargain. Just get up. No matter how much you fail, how many times you fail, no matter how big you failed, God knows it. That's why he didn't call Abraham to walk through, because in the next minute he would fail the covenant, and he will have to, and Abraham will have to be destroyed as those animals, as they would have to vow on that moment. So God did it because he knows he will keep his end of the bargain, and he did it till the end. So please think about this. It's a wonderful covenant that God made with Abraham, and no wonder God let him sleep, because God knows what he's doing, and he's waiting for us in heaven. So please think about all this. Have a blessed week, and tomorrow we'll talk about another covenant. Bye bye.